Good morning.
How's everyone's Tuesday starting?
Awesome.
Okay. Victories, wins, energy level.
A 10.
10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got that.
Huge victory. Mr. Fiddler here closed my niece 11 days early on a loan. Got him a rate I didn't think was even possible. And he'd been working with them for a while, and I appreciate that. But once that went into play, shocking what these guys can do. So reach out to them. If you can't get your clients to them on a primary, go into a secondary position and have them at least look at it.
Awesome.
I agree. I had one just yesterday as well. We went under contract. It took us longer than it was supposed to, but we were already fixed on a date where we had to close in 3 weeks, and so I was already nervous about that when we went under contract. And we still we were ready to close 7 days in before that. So I mean,
Wow.
It was really a 14-day close that Inspire was able to do. So
Yeah, you guys rock.
it's been fantastic. So thank you. Good reminder. Anyone else? That's right. I can see you in here. So okay. Just reminders. So everyone going to be at Summit today?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So it's going to be something different. We have another guest speaker that will be speaking today, and it's the founder and CEO of Operation Underground Railroad. If you're unaware of what that is, you're going to find out today. It's a foundation that we are, as a company, if you didn't know, we have our own foundation. It's called Everest Community Foundation. And for the last 6-7 years, our primary focus has been serving veterans, which is a great cause. We've been extremely excited about being able to do that. And this year we are shifting and going to be, our primary focus will be Operation Underground Railroad. Again, if you don't know what it is, the purpose of it is helping rescue children. So it's going to be an incredible summit today. We're excited about it. Guarantee, I mean, extremely inspiring, and it's what he does to rescue these children is unbelievable. So please come prepared. I guarantee it'll be something that you're going to be excited about. I know that we're extremely excited, and our golf tournament that we have in June, the proceeds go to help fund that, and awesome. The enrollment for that will be April 1st. So be prepared and just make sure you're going to be there early. So that being said, okay, we'll bounce right into it. So I can see a lot of faces that were here that also went to the seminar last week. There was a lot of focus that was being done on buyers and sellers, which is fantastic. So I wanted to jump in a little bit with that because we had several things that were discussed last week in order to help work with buyers and sellers. And so jumping into a little bit about those, what are the 12 skills that we talk about that we need to learn to master in this business? And some of them are focusing on sellers, some of them are focused on buyers. But what are the 12 skills? Some of them are even both.
Set appointments.
Okay. Set appointments. Sorry, what did I hear?
Future pace.
Okay. Now, this is not going to be in any particular order.
Price reductions.
Okay.
Objection handling.
Maybe I'll just abbreviate these things. Presentations. Present. That one's gone. Lead follow-up. What's one of the things that we were talking about in the seminar that came up as one of these things? When they were acting like they were on the phone.
Role playing.
Okay? We were role playing, but it's not one of the 12 skills.
Are you talking about prospecting?
No, pre-qual.
Pre-qualification.
Okay? So neat.
Time management.
Okay, we'll put that in kind of with time management, and how about customer service? Would be the one that would go with that.
Customer service.
Yeah.
Working with buyers, highly qualified buyers. The highly qualified buyers. Let's see what we're missing here.
Is prospecting supposed to be on?
Well, setting appointments
Oh.
is part of that.
Right.
So, present. This is out of an order that's there. So, future pay. What am I missing here? Okay, close. Oh yeah. So, closing, negotiation, being able to negotiate, and then the last one I'm missing here. Buyers, future pays, negotiation, that's what it was. No, we got that one. Prequal, I don't know, where somewhere it's missing in there. Anyway, so jumping in with this, couple of keys things that stood out when we are talking about pre-qualification, future pacing. Austin touched a little bit about future pacing, right? He said he had a lot of information that he wanted to get into, and future pacing was one that he was talking about. What is future pacing, since someone got up there?
Basically set the expectation up front so they know what to expect, and then completely avoid that future problem or objection.
Okay? This skill set runs so well in everything that we are doing. We can look at obvious future pacing, and then we can also look at things that if we're prepared for, that we can plan ahead. So obvious future pacing could be this, that I know some of agents that have to deal with. They don't get any paperwork signed. They don't get their buyer broker. They don't get certain things signed, and they're sitting there at the closing table. Now they got a check that's cashed, and they want to get paid, and they realize they haven't done any paperwork. Do you think when they go to, hey Matt, hey, you know, it's so thankful that you were able to do this business with me. Thank you for allowing me to help you work. But by the way, I need you, there's a couple things we just need to have you still sign. Like one of these forms here, due diligence, that says you're able to have all of these inspections if you choose, even though we just closed. But will you please sign this form for me right now because I forgot to get it signed? Okay, you think that might be one little future pacing scenario that you probably missed?
Yeah.
You missed the bus on that one? Okay, what about the other part that we may not know as much about on future pacing deals specifically with, we're still seeing it in today's market, multiple offers. Okay, so if we represent a buyer and we're dealing with multiple offers, if our client is anxious to actually take the listing, get the offer accepted, if we prepare our buyer, whether it be talking about earnest money, so no question about it, I'd love to save my client the risk of losing earnest money. And so the smallest earnest money possible if I'm representing the buyer might be great. But the second piece, if I'm trying to get my buyer's offer accepted, I might want to prepare him to say, hey, we got to look at this and what the seller is going to be interested in accepting. So we might want to have more earnest money. We may want to do some other things that could put my buyer at risk if they default on the transaction. But if they're going to want to get their offer accepted, I want to future pace my client, understanding where they're going to go. So depending on what we're doing is going to depend on how we're going to be actually handling these. Did you want me to just keep going? Okay, just making sure.
No, you're all good.
Just,
Just finish up call. Yeah, just because I'm not here the rest of this
yeah,
week.
no,
So
it's all good. So, I'll let you where you're gonna pick up, but it's always odd.
I'm
like
picking
in
up. It's
yeah.
not odd. He makes it odd, Judy. It's all good.
So
It's
when
not odd.
one thing we should talk about is timing, like being on
I
time.
know. I was on time.
On time. So when you walk into a listing presentation
I
and
still
you
would get
show
it.
up,
And I still would
afterwards,
get it.
There you go.
I would still get it.
Oh, this is perfect. There's one missing, right?
I know there is. That's why I was trying to figure out what it is.
Pre-qual. Where's the pricing up there? Price? No, you don't have pricing.
Pricing.
Price
Price
reduction.
reduction.
Yeah,
We
price
have
reductions,
pricing,
but not
pricing.
setting the price in preparation for the deal. So
There it
see,
is.
that's why I would have gotten the listing there. That's why I got the listing. All right, so we're picking up right from yesterday. I apologize. I was on a conference call, Lila, and they were like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "All fired up, Jeff. I am ready to rock and roll. I got to let some of it out." So we're gonna do our affirmations, but I want to pick right up, which we did not do very good job of getting into depth into this whole thing, but into sound bites. And I know that so yesterday we talked about level shifting, pattern interrupts. We talked about transitional statements. Okay, so if you didn't see those, I would recommend just going back and listening to that. But every one of these skills that Rob, it's perfect. Every single one of these skills that are there, sound bites should be woven in between all of them. So when we talk about sound bites, this whole idea of selling is not telling is absolute nonsense, because there is moments where you should be telling people certain things. Do I also believe equally, like you saw, those of you who attended the seminar and Elevate, that should we demand an answer? Of course we should. But just in relationship though to these sound bites, just a couple of key points. And they should be somewhere between 5 to 30 seconds long. All right, I'm gonna have you, just from an exercise standpoint in a second, do some of them, and I want you to write some of them out. So 5 to 30 seconds, and then most of the ones that I do, you can kind of have your own way to starting it, but I have just found that these are the easiest ways to start them, and it goes like this: that reminds me. So let me give you an example. Hey, you know what that reminds me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, of a moment when I sold a home. In fact, we listed it, and 30 days later, the home was sold. So hey, let me ask you. So again, it doesn't have to be something really long and lengthy. It could be as quick as, hey, you know what? That reminds me. Getting your home sold will be one of the other 5,000 homes that we'll sell across the Wasatch Front. So let me ask you. Just establishing our credibility, not from a place of ego, because people, if we went down and said, okay, hey, what has to happen? Like these 7 things, but one of the things that in every single presentation that has to occur, which we never even got into, but I'm going to write these down, and that is that you're there to connect. Number 2, you're there to create value. Number 3, you're there to separate yourself from your competition. Number 4, you're there to reduce the risk, which is another word you could put next to this, is help people feel safe. Okay, so connect, value, separation of your competition. If you don't separate yourself, the only thing that will separate you is the price that you say their home is worth, or the commissions that you charge. The reduction of risk could be as simple as, hey, you can fire me at any time. If I don't call you weekly, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can fire me because I'm not doing my job. I'll even put that in the contract. Make sense? We're not going to spend a lot of time on this part. We're going to stay over here, but I just want you to have these things. So 5 is just the ability to trust you. So part of this, now start thinking about these. These things in sound bites, they help you separate. They help you reduce the risk. They help you show trust. Now number 6 is to show that you're capable of doing the job. That's the other thing that it does. Capable. Are you capable of doing the job? And then the last but not least, of course, is number 7, which is your ability to close the sale. Oops. So you need to be able to close. But I just know that sound bites weave in throughout the entire presentation. So all these great skill sets that Rob set up, and all these great skill sets that from the presentation. Look, this was my cheat sheet. Every time I went on a presentation, whether I got the listing or didn't get the listing, I go back to that and go, how did I get the listing? And I would be able to say, you know what? Oh man, I really did a great job of separating myself. Gosh, why did it take so long to have to get this thing to close? Oh my gosh, they felt so much risk. They felt so unsafe. I got to do a better job in that arena. All right, did they trust me? Yeah, they did. Okay, how was my body language? How did I shake their hand? How did I look them in the eye? Yeah, all these different things that create some level of trust. How good were my sound bites for them to know, man, I can trust this guy. All right, I can trust this guy. He's safe. He's separated himself. Man, he can really get the job done. All of these things, if you could do them in a heartbeat, right, and you had all 7 of those things nailed down, you'd have a listing within 30 seconds every single time. You would. So my whole cheat sheet always was, did I connect? Did I create enough value? We're not going to get into that, but things that I can buy, that would be like, did I get them the best video or of their home? Or did I put a key box up? Those are just things of value. But the ultimate thing that I can't buy, right, is my leadership. So just as you go through the presentation, just recognize that there's so many different angles to this thing. It's not just about reading some words on a page. It's not just about, hey, did I say the words properly? There's so many other things that are weaving between this. Sometimes the trust comes from what we wear. The trust comes from how we speak. The trust comes from how capable we show ourselves to be. Can we get the job done? Have we done it in the past? Right? All of these things make it to where this close becomes an easy thing. And the better you do the first 6 things there, the close becomes a simple process. So I'm not thinking just because we mentioned them, you're going to have them all nailed down, but we're going to start to weave in these sound bites so that you can. So 5 to 30 seconds, that reminds me of the many homes I've sold this year. This home is very similar. In fact, you know what? We put it on the market, had it closed within 60 days. Would that be a problem for you? No, that'd be great. Great, let's take care of some paperwork. It could be as simple as that. Okay? The other way I get into these is, do you know what's so exciting? Hey, do you know what's so exciting about us having the chance to work together? Is that I'm going to be able to do things for you that I've done for other clients, such as calling them every day, or every week, doing these things we do with marketing. Hey, do you know what's so exciting about working with Century 21? It's a global presence. And I don't know where your home and where the buyer ultimately is going to come from. I don't know if it's going to be from halfway across the world in China, or whether it's going to be, from Ohio, or whether it's going to be from Canada, or whether it's just going to be from your neighbor. But the one thing I know, that if you're going to pay the same amount for the discount broker or for the no-name brand, why would you do that when you can get a global footprint and the largest in the world when it comes to real estate? So hey, let me ask you. Guys, you have got to use these sound bites. It doesn't have to be, it's not about bragging. It's not about how great I am. Look at how cool I am. If they're between 5 and 30 seconds, it means they're very, very deliberate. It means they're very, very specific. It means that you really have come from a space where you're not just making stuff up, you're saying things that are true. Right? I mean, it could be as simple as, hey, you know what? The last listing I had, I sold within 30 days. I'm hoping we can do the same thing for you. Why don't we take care of some paperwork and see what we can do together? Simple. Easy. So we're like, well, I don't really feel comfortable. When I first started, when Rob and I were working on our team together, doing what we were doing, I remember that when we were first, I remember John Hunter, one of our closest friends, I remember him saying, hey, just so you know, I'm going to tell people how long it's been since you've sold real estate. You haven't sold a piece of real estate in like 4 or 5 years. Okay. All right, so tell them. And but then I started using sound bites like, hey, Michael, do you realize in the last 2 weeks we've listed 2 homes and sold 4? How cool would it be to have you be one of those? So hey, let me ask you. Because I started working on weeks, months, quarters, years, then decades in the business, right? I mean, so as we start looking at what do these sound bites come from, this is what I want to do from an activity level, is I just want to make sure you do 2 things. And I know I wrote this up here, but I want to get really specific here for a minute. And that is that your sound bite should be number 1, not in any order, about C21 or Everest, and number 2, about you. And so what I want to know is, before we walk out of here, give me 5 about Century 21. Everest. Locally, nationally, globally. What? Give me one.
98% brand recognition.
Okay, great. I'll go with that. Okay, 90%. It is as recognized as Coca-Cola. That's what's even crazy, is that recognized as a brand. Okay, number 2. Give me another one.
So 1 out of 4 homes.
Yeah, so I usually say sell 1 out of every 4 to 5 homes where we represent on one side of the transaction. And the key word is here, if you're making notes, existing home sales. Not new construction, but of existing home sales, we are always on 1 out of every 4 to 5 transactions. Now, it's been as low at one point, guys, it was as low as 1 out of 3. But also the market's gotten better. When the market wasn't so good, we dominated even at a higher level. Now the market is a lot better. It's actually, the number isn't as, I guess, good in the sense that we're 1 out of every 4 to 5. We represent one side. But either way, man, that's a pretty powerful number. Gosh, how exciting. That reminds me, do you know how exciting it is, or what's so exciting? You're going to be able to work with an organization that sells 1 out of every 4 to 5 homes, meaning we're on one side of the transaction on every 4 to 5 homes sold across the Wasatch Front. How cool is that? Hey, so let me ask you. We get right back on script. Okay? Another one. Give me one more. Give me other ones.
Number 1 office in the world in transactions.
Okay, so especially if you're out of this, number 1 office. Okay, what's so great is there's 7 here. I'll give you some more information. There's over 7,000 7,000 offices in the world. I work with the number 1 office in the world. You think that's an accident? No, it's because we know how to get homes sold. Now let me ask you this. It doesn't have to be 40 minutes of an entourage of how awesome I am. That's not what this is about. This is about establishing the connection to this is my capability, my trust. There's no risk. I've separated myself. I've created value. It helps me connect to them. All of a sudden the close becomes easy. You've got to get in the habit of these sound bites. It has to be automatic for you. Okay, what are other ones?
We dominate 70% of the relocation market. Would you love to have your home exposed to buyers with a high motivation, a high need of buying a home?
Okay, I like it. I don't even know if it's 70%, but what I do know is I know this. How about let's just tweak that a little bit. We'll sell over 1,000 homes in relocation. 1,000 homes a year in relocation. I don't know if it's 70%, John. So for me, I wouldn't use that, and I don't, but it sounds really good, by the way.
We've been
Okay.
at 75, haven't we?
I've never heard that. How would I even know that?
Heather?
How would she know that?
Platinum.
That
Platinum
doesn't
status.
that doesn't tell you what Berkshire Hathaway does. It's not accurate, just so you know. There's no way that's accurate. So it's not. But what is accurate is we're selling 1,000 plus homes a year in relocation. So you can talk about the fact of we are only one of 3 of the major players in relocation, and we sell over 1,000 properties in relocation. Look, again, I don't know where your buyer's going to come from, but man, if I'm going to pay commission, I'm going to give myself the best chance with the best opportunities and working with a company that represents so many people on a global level. Now, let me ask you this. Okay?
Let's end in global marketing for them.
Global marketing.
Okay?
I love that.
Lens?
I just want to echo what you're saying, because I think it's so important that, I remember the first time that I learned this was not quoting numbers that aren't exact, because you do have that 25% of the group that's going to actually challenge you.
Right.
And it's going to do their research. I remember it was when I first started recruiting. Me, Nick Manville, you, Jared, and John were all in the office, and the Mountain Land recruiter called Nick and said, we have over so many agents and this and that, and Nick's like, well, that's interesting, because the MLS only says this and this and this, and I'm like, it was such a lesson for me to learn right away to not bluff your numbers.
And do you want to know who taught me that? Was Jeremy Fitzgerald over a decade ago. He said, you know what, he pulled me aside and he was very kind, and he said, sometimes you're so ambitious, right? You're so grand in what you're talking about that I question what you're saying and the numbers that you're saying, because sometimes I've checked them and they have not been right. So I'm really uber over the top conscious of that. That's why I get really weary of like
Good
75, 70.
Yeah.
Quite, I mean, to where I am, I'm like, well, how would she know that? How does she know exactly what Berkshire Hathaway has done?
Well,
How does she know exactly what what Better Homes and Gardens does, who has a little bit of relocation? How does she know what Sotheby's is doing in regards to their relocation? I mean, now again, the three biggest ones, I do know this, is Berkshire, us, and Coldwell Banker in relocation, as an example. But what I do know for a fact is we sell 1,000 plus homes in relocation. Let me give you one more, so we're going to run out of time here. But 80 plus countries, I think it's 82 to be exact, but if you want to go on the website, you can do, huh?
It's 80.
I thought last time I saw it was 82, but that's fine. I just said 80 plus, right? So that's fine. So 80 plus countries,
That one I do.
C21 works in. And it's always changing, right? I mean, all of a sudden they open up another, they have offices in Congo, for crying out loud. I mean, I'm not exaggerating this, right? So I always love it when I have people travel all around the world. They'll shoot me, shots of front. I remember John Hunter, speaking to him again, he was in Paris. Boom. 400 offices of Century 21 just in France alone. Like C21 is everywhere in France. Okay, so for me, again, hey, you know what? I say something like this. Hey, Michael, you know what? Who's so great about this is not only do we have 7,000 offices worldwide, but we're in over 80 different countries. And today's world, working globally, you never know where people are going to come from the university, from the LDS church. People are coming in all across the world to this state of Utah that we live in. So I don't know if your buyer will come from that, but I do know that if I'm going to work with someone, I want to give myself the best opportunity. I always said that. I don't know if your buyer is going to come from that, because I don't know. But I do know if I'm going to pay that much, why don't I get everything that's possible if I'm going to sell with someone? Make sense?
Hey, George.
Yep.
You said one thing that they may not be aware of when you said LDS, that we have the LDS account that is the reason why you're tying that in.
No, it's not. But it's not why I'm tying it in.
Okay. Well,
I'm just talking because people everywhere across the world come to work in the LDS church and then the universities. Between just those two things, holy cow, you know how many people come from a global perspective to the state of Utah? It's crazy. And you've even sold some of those people. Yes, because we have the account. But they're coming from everywhere.
Right. So when you tie that with 4 and 5, that's all kind of one soundbite. You got
And if I-
location, LDS account, do this.
Yes, and then you start weaving in a little, hey, let me share with you, gosh, that means, and then the other thing is that from Silicon Slopes, right, to where you've got Adobe, you've got NSA, you've got people coming from all over the world. So you got to help me understand, Mr. Seller, why would you be going with just an independent company when you might be missing out on a global perspective of getting your home sold? Again, I don't know if it's going to be the way in which your home sells, but I do know I want to give you the best chance. So let me ask you this. We're not spending 20 minutes on the soundbite. I just said again, just want to remind you, there's not one here that I've said that's not 5 to 30 seconds or less. Are you okay back there, Taylor? You doing okay?
I just like being in your presence.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. There we go. Suck it up.
But I do have to go.
You gotta go? All right, it's all right. Amari has a better exchange anyway, so you let it.
That was a smooth exit.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So look. Now my deal is I think you get 10 of those, right? You could talk about the fact that we have here's another soundbite. 562 agents across the Wasatch Front. Right? You're hiring not just me, but you're hiring an army of people to work on your behalf. An army of people working on your behalf. So let me ask you this. You think again that's going to show, oh wait, there's value? Wait a second, 562 agents? What do you mean, reduce the risk? Was they going to trust me more? Are we capable? All of it adds into these things. That's why these sound bites are so important. And again, I'm not telling you to spend 45 minutes on sound bites. I'm just telling you, quick one. They say, hey, so tell me what you're going to do to sell a home. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do the exact same thing we've done. How about number 6? We did the last one, but number 6 would be that we sell 5,000 plus homes a year. Which means, so if I was saying again to one of you, or if I was talking to Rob, say, Rob, so exciting. You guys, we're selling 5,000 plus homes. We're on 5,000 sides of a transaction. 5,000 families have entrusted Century 21, and my organization is going to represent you. So let me ask you this. You're right back on script, whatever question you want to ask. I'm not telling you to spend 40 minutes again. I know I keep repeating that, but this is quick stuff. This is stuff, again, that establishes all of this. If you do the other things right, like the match, the rates of speech, body language, all the other things, I get all that. But you got to get these down. I mean, look, this isn't complicated. Some of you have come from, like, I don't care whether you come from, I was watching something of Tom Ferry not too long ago. Mike Ferry, okay, Mike Ferry. It says that even in his bio. First coaching company in real estate. Is it just bragging? Or is it somehow to separate himself from his competition? It's how he's separating. He's trying to separate himself. It's not a bad thing. It's what he's trying to do. We all do it. We separate ourselves by what we wear. We separate ourselves by what we drive. We separate ourselves by how we walk, how we shake hands, how we look people in the eye, how we match their rate of speech, how we look them in the eye, how we move when we're at the presentation, whether we're on the edge of our seat, laid back. It all sends a message. It all sends a message. So don't underestimate this, along with what Rob talked about also, and then these sound bites. Now look, let's just talk about you for a second. We're going to do it in 2 minutes. Good, right, man?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Number one, let's just talk about, I'm going to give you, we're going to talk about, not age, your length of time. Oh gosh, I know, you guys are right. Length of time in the business. But if you notice, those of you who were here earlier this week or Friday, whatever it was, I can't remember what it was with Matt, I said, hey, I've been selling, I was on the role play at Elevate. Hey man, I've been selling my whole life. Since the day I was born, I was selling my mom on why I should have what toy. I've been selling when I was in high school, telling every girl she should date me if I liked her and thought she was cute. I've been selling I get them laughing. Even though I've maybe been in real estate for 2 or 3 years, I've been selling my whole life. I am made to sell your home. So hey, let me ask you this. Guys, I'm just telling you, man, you got to get some stuff down about you. Not because you're trying to be some braggadocious egomaniac, but just a few sound bites. Length of time in the business, okay? Number 2, your track record. But make it fun. Hey, you know what's so exciting? Right? Do you know what's so exciting? I sold 4 homes last week. I had 4 closings last month. I had 2 closings last month. I had 6 closings last month. That's more closings than most people have in an entire year. And I'm so excited for the opportunity to be able to see if I can help you. Let me ask you this. Guys, you guys can do this, right? I mean, it's the stuff. John?
When I first came on board here, 09, 010, my record wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
Someone in our office had a home that had 25 offers and sold 15,000 above the list. And so I just use their example. Hey, our team, we just put a home on the market. In this incredibly slow market, we were able to get 5 plus offers and 10,000 over list.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
So now you go. I'm going to label it this way because you went right down the path that I want to go down, and that is time to, let's just put here, sell something or sell a home. Right, so the time in which it took you to sell a home. Man, I listed this home and sold it in 2 weeks. I put it on the market, sold it within 14 days. Put it on the market, sold it within 7 days. Put it on the market, expired. We adjusted the price just a tad, and guess what? In less than 30 days, we had it under contract, and these guys were already moved into their new home. Something about the time. Next thing about you is the amount of money. The amount of money that someone earns. Gosh, you know what's so exciting working with someone like me? No one is more committed to negotiating the best price on your behalf. In fact, that reminds me of a client I was just working with. They were so concerned that paying their commission would be actually a loss to them. By the time it was said and done and we were at the closing table, they shook my hand, tears in their eye, not only about the speed, but about the money they were putting in their pocket, and it was all through so much gratitude. I hope that we can have the same experience. Now let me ask you this. Guys, I'm just telling you, this stuff is so important. Go back to well, why is he saying all this? Because how are you going to show your capability, your trust? You're going to make him feel safe. Better word, how are you going to make him feel safe? How do you separate yourself? You can't otherwise. Yes, by what you wear. Yes, by how you speak. Yes, by your body language. That is the way we communicate, but your voice somehow has to throw these things in here. All right? Number 5, Lynn, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll add it after this.
Well, I was just going to say a fifth way to just another soundbite for me. So we've got time, money, and then the other one I always like to talk about is loss. Right? Or the other way, another number 6 I would put here is family. Right? So we've talked about time, loss, family, money. Man, a lot of great sound bites can go around that. And what you're really focusing on is the home, what we're really talking about is what experiences have you had? What experiences have you had in regards to making sure people didn't lose, making sure people got with their family, and a husband and wife. Husband's over in LA working at his new job, wife's still staying home with the kids because the home hasn't sold. Gosh, let me share with you how important it is that we make sure your family gets together. I had a similar situation just 6 months ago. Boom, 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 boom. We just share the same thing. Let me share with you how it was that this person was so concerned they might lose money and also the time frame which they were going to get it there. Let me share with you about a client just a couple months ago that I was working with. And again, 5 to 30 seconds. If it's gone longer than 30 seconds, in most cases, you probably are not giving a good enough, concise enough, and powerful enough message.
Or you don't believe it.
Yeah, then you start wandering. Like, you want to say everything about it, right? And all of a sudden, the more you talk about it, the less confidence there is because you're taking too long to share it. Lynn's, and then let's wrap up. Any other last comments? But that's all I have on that. But man, if there's anything I would just tell you to do in this call to action right here, get 5 to 10 of these about Century 21. Get 5 to 10 great things about your record, length of time in the business, deals that you've done annually, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Talk about maybe an award you've gotten. And then I always say, look, none of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is this is just to help you understand that I am capable of getting the home sold. That you are in a great environment and it's going to be okay with us working together. That you know what? I need to share a few of those things with you so that you realize that not all agents are the same. And I really want to separate myself from my competition. Because I know that you're evaluating, looking at others. And I need you to know what I'm capable of doing to help you. And you will never be anyone more committed and capable, blind and believe, than me. So that's a pretty bold statement. Well, don't they want someone who has some level of certainty? I didn't say bring arrogance and put downs on other people. I'm just talking about you and what you are capable of doing. Okay? Lens? And then Rob, or did you guys both say, did you already say something? Or one of the two of you?
Well, I was just going to say real quick is what you echoed at the end is the most important part is you're delivering your confidence in it, because you could sell your first home or list your first property and say, look, most agents are selling 2 homes every year. I just sold one last week, even though that was my first home I ever sold. But if I say it with confidence and conviction, they're not going to like, well, how many homes have you sold in addition to what you sold last week? You're like, wow, you sold one last week? I want to be the next one you're going to sell. Or if you say it with conviction and confidence.
To that point, right, when I talk about this, when you're asked how long have you been in the business, and some of us in this room have been in it for 5 minutes, some of us have been 5 years, and some of us have been in it for decades.
Absolutely.
But just to that point, right, is that's why I always have used that one. Look, I've been selling my whole life. You're worried about whether I've sold for the last year in this business, the last 6 months. My whole life has been about selling since the day I walked in to this and came out of my mother's womb. I was selling. And they always go, whoa, but it makes sense. Have you not? When you didn't get what you want, you started screaming. You've been selling since the day you walked out of the womb. Or at least some guy out there. Okay, walked out. I don't know, something like that. All the women are like, what? No one walked out. Okay?
You just didn't walk out.
That's right.
Over the years was really important.
Oh, I didn't hear it start over. What,
I
say
was
it?
just going to say, on the use sound bites, what I found over the years is really important is not just only your personal track record, right, is being able to use and kind of, I think, gives the objection handling a lot more solidification, is when you can use those personal experiences of, like when you were doing that homey soundbite or objection handling last week, I personally have helped somebody save $20,000 in negotiations by them working with an
personalizing
agent.
it.
So being able to actually give them those experiences. In fact, last year I did a listing presentation for a guy. I was in I guess I was up against 6 agents, and personally why he chose me is because I was able to not only use Century 21, but I was able to use my own. But then, going one step further, and this is what I think I found out throughout the years, is using those sound bites of your clients. Because that emotional tie that they can relate to will bring them in closer to you even faster.
Okay, love it. Good. And thoughts? Go. Let's rock and roll.
Love it.
Helpful?
Yes.
Helpful, yeah.
Guys, write down 10 sound bites about the company, 10 sound bites about yourself. Right? Just get very serious about making sure you can have clear separation.
Yeah.
All right? And we haven't even talked about separation where, hey, most agents do this, I do this. We'll get into that as time goes on, but that's always a fun conversation also. All right, here we go. I succeed because I have goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people.